Hello, everybody out there. It is Friday at noon, which means it is time for our next installation of I Am a Small Business on Instagram Live. Nice to see you. I am Liz Smith. I am president of the St. John's Boosters Business Association, and I am so excited to be doing this series. I believe this is our 10th. So that's kind of exciting since November. Where I Am a Small Business started was a campaign with Venture Portland called I Am a Small Business to highlight not only small business in Portland, but the people who make these small businesses so special, the owners, the staff, who's ever there to serve you and remind you that small business is what creates the culture of our communities. This is what the social media campaign looked like that Venture started. And then the boosters thought, this is so great. We want to do this social media campaign on our own social media. And it was very successful. We loved it. It was so fun to feature everybody that we thought, let's take it live. If we can't be hanging out in stores and at businesses, we can hang out right here on Instagram. So it's the end of the month in the new year. We're getting ready to start a brand new month, which is just, oh my gosh, it's either going very slowly or flying by. It depends on the day that, I talk to somebody, but here we are. And today we have a very special guest, Risa Davis, also known as Risa the Realtor. Some of you who have been active with the boosters for a long time remember that Risa was our vice president and ran the pancake breakfast and the shred day that we used to do and all kinds of things that help promote the business district. But today, Risa gets to talk about her own business and what that's been like and how that's shifted and what she's doing now. And I see that Risa is right here in the waiting room, so I'm going to go ahead and let her in. All right, we're connecting. There you are. Now I have to reposition my face. So it worked, Risa. We did it.
Yeah, we did.
We're not, yeah.
Was a bit of a like, okay, how does this whole thing work? So I am sitting, amazingly enough, in a condo in St. John's that I currently have listed. So
Oh, wow. I can barely hear you. I'm going to try and turn up my volume a little bit to see if that's better.
What we can do. Okay.
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
Okay, so I'm sitting in a condo that I currently have listed in St. John's. So that's
cool.
So I'm just sitting here enjoying the view of the St. John's Bridge, and yeah. So I'm excited to be here.
It's kind of fun to sit in another house that's not your own sometimes. It's like putting on a costume. It's like, ooh, like what is it like to live in this space?
Right, exactly. It's super cool and modern, and it's got a bunch of very cool staging happening, and
oh wow,
yeah, it's super lovely.
It's super lovely, and I love to see a staged place because it doesn't have the regular like everyday clutter. So I'm always like, wow, if I ever look at a new place, could you just include all the staging stuff and I'll just leave all my like clutter behind and just move into this beautiful clean hotel-like space?
That has happened before.
Has it?
It hasn't. Can they say, can I just buy all the furniture and everything in here, and then we negotiate with the stager because it's their stuff? But
oh wow,
yeah, it's happened before.
Oh, so. I can imagine. It would be just so easy, and like it's just that much less headache. And nowadays everybody's so busy that it's like, okay, great. If I can buy my way into that situation, I'm just gonna do it. Well,
no need to hire a decorator. It's already done.
You've already done the work to make the stuff fit in the space, so why not, right?
Right, exactly.
So I know you've been in St. John's for a long time. So can you talk a little bit about like kind of how you got to St. John's and like, have you always been in realty and what that looked like up until today?
Sure. So I raised my sons in Southeast Portland. And when they were all through high school, I said, okay, I can live anywhere I want now. And so I was, done with, not necessarily done with parenting because that never goes away. But I I said, okay, let's start looking around to see what we've got. And a year before that, I had driven past the house that I live in, well, that we lived in for the last 12 years. And it was all, you know, and I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. And then it was still for sale a year later. So we ended up buying it. And so that's why I, you know, moved to St. John's. And so that's, I've been here for about 13 years, and, you know, it's hard for me to imagine being part of a different community, because this community is so strong. And so, and then I've been in real estate for going on 19 years now.
Wow.
And you know, it's so super funny that people always ask you, so, you know, well, what neighborhood do you know, what's your area of expertise in the neighborhoods? And I said, you know, and it's always such an odd question, because you go where your clients are, first of all. And so I think that in my almost 20 years in business, I have sold or bought something for someone in every single neighborhood in the Portland metropolitan area, which is super great to say. That being said, my favorite area is St. John's, of course. You know, it's just, you know, with all the buttons that you need to push as a realtor, as far as what is a great place to live, St. John's has most of those. And a lot of it is having a walking district, business district. And that's why the business district to St. John's is so important, whether anybody realizes it or not. It's for all of the community around you to be able to survive with their current houses, and to be able to sell and buy. And that's why people want to move here, is because if we didn't have the business district here, they'd be going, oh, yeah,
It would seem like the
park,
country or something,
bridge,
right?
But
yeah.
You know, and so as soon as the nasty stuff is over, hopefully soon, you know, who else can say they can walk to 2 movie theaters? You know, it's like, it's crazy. And all these lovely businesses here. We have a lot of things that nobody else has, like Blue Moon Camera and the scooter shop. He's the only scooter shop in Portland that works on those vintage scooters. So he brings a lot of people from out of the area. But Liz, I'm sure you have questions, and I'm just rambling on.
Well, no, this is great. And you know, this is when I tell people about St. John's, people are always surprised to know that you can not only walk to Forest Park, like a giant national park, you can also then walk over and have you know, a craft beer brewed on premises, you know, within a walking distance. And that's what makes us so unique. I love the sort of like unfinished country feel that we have sometimes with the unpaved roads or whatever. But then at the same time, we've got every single kind of business you could want, so that truly you don't ever have to leave St. John's. And during the pandemic, that's been more, you know, apparent than ever. It's like, I don't have to leave. You know, I can't leave, and I also don't have to leave. So, yeah, that's been good. So while you were a realtor for all those years, within that time frame, I believe you were also a business owner within the St. John's Business District.
So we my husband and I took a side step, and it was because I started out, you know, so my background also includes, I was on the board of the Architectural Heritage Center. So I've had lots and lots of training in historic properties. So and rehabilitation of historic properties. So when, you know, and there was a program, and I don't know if anybody knows where this started, but it was Main Street. Main Street was started by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. I don't know if a lot of people knew that. And so, and their whole purpose of doing that was that the downtown core areas, like our little downtown St. John's was being demolished at an exponential rate across the country. So they started this program that was kind of like a key program that can be dropped into wherever across the United States. So when I found out that there was a Main Street program starting in St. John's, I said, oh, sign me up. I want to be part of that, where they weren't exactly adhering to the national Main Street program. The idea was still the same, is like, if you have a downtown thriving neighborhood business district, then the buildings and the character and the sense of place will not be demolished. And so that is where that whole thing came in. So with the talking of the different people on the board, the one place that they all felt needed to change and to make the rest of it, accelerate in the business district was the Central Hotel location. And so it was, at that time, it was a bar, and my nephew referred to it as the place that you went when you were kicked out of every other place because you were too drunk.
That's such a St. John's thing to say too. I love that.
So anyway, so the thought was to get enough community support to build this hotel, to revitalize that corner. And when we found out that it was originally a hotel, we were like, okay, that makes perfect sense. So we tried. We had $1 million through the feds, and they were willing to give us, and we fundraised, and it got to be to the point where we needed to stop for ourselves, and we did.
Yeah.
And so now it's under construction, like the fences are up, everything's happening there now, so
it's happening.
It's turned the corner. And so we're super happy to see that.
Yeah. And you have the unique experience, not only of the historic background that you bring, your realtor experience, but also having owned like a brick and mortar space within the business district. So that gives you a very unique, and broad perspective on a lot of different things within our district, which makes sense with your work with the boosters, how you bring all those perspectives to us. And, it's such a vital part of all of that. So, but then we got a pandemic. So what did that look like for real estate?
Okay. So I was so happy that I was set up. I had a lot of people coming online to sell their houses last year, and it was my best year ever.
Great.
So, I've had some, when I kind of took a hiatus and did the Central Hotel, it kind of, brought most of my real estate to a screeching halt because I couldn't do both. Right. And so I didn't have the capacity to do both. So it took me a while to build, everything back to where it was before I started. And last year was my best year ever. So even through the pandemic, so I don't know what's going to happen this year, but I can imagine that it's going to be very busy. There is no inventory out there. So if somebody's been holding off selling their mother's house that is sitting there vacant, or if they're wanting to make that move, I don't think so with a low inventory, it's kind of hard because you're between a rock and a hard place, because you want to sell your house for as much as you can get for it. But at the same time, you have to have a place to live once you sell your house. So, it's kind of a hard position to be in. But if somebody has an inkling that they know that they're going to sell, I mean, you can always rent for a little while until the market shifts a bit. But right now it's a great time to get your house listed if that's what you're thinking. And so end of February, first part of March. So I'm looking for those appointments. If anybody's interested, they can definitely call me and I'll come over and help them sell it.
Well, it's
So
so good to hear too that you've had such a great year because I always wonder about the service industries. I talk about other industries, and we're in such a DIY like mindset, or we have been for a while. So sometimes people think, "Oh, I don't need a realtor. I'm just going to do this on my own.
uh,
It's fine." But I know that a realtor has jobs and things that they do that go, if you're a good realtor, go way beyond just the scope of coordinating like the buying and selling of a house, right?
right. Oh my, it's like finding the buyer or the seller or finding that house to purchase is the tip of the iceberg. And everybody's like, "Oh, I can do that." Not everybody.
Right.
A lot of people, I mean, say 75 to 90% of the people understand the value of a realtor. Um, but I've heard such horror stories of those who didn't take it, especially, I mean, if you're buying or selling, if somebody's buying and there's no need, there's absolutely no need not to have a realtor because you don't pay any upfront costs. And I know that, so this last year, it was like I had one house that we listed, and we listed it in a way where uh, we knew that we were going to have a bidding war, and that's the reason we listed it that way. And there's so many strategies to work with different properties, and this one was, a woman was in assisted care. She had, she had a very young, lovely power trustee to the estate, and I said, okay, we can do this two ways. We can sit and linger the property, and it may get something, or we can start a bidding war. And we came in 90,000 over what we put it on for. And I had an open house during the pandemic, and I had over 75 people through that open house,
Wow.
and so to manage that in today's world is so different than when it used to be, and
Right.
it
An
was,
open house, it's not like just open, come on in.
right. No, I had them lined up at the door. They were 6 feet apart. We had sanitizer. Everybody was coming in masked. There was only allowed, like, I had like 3 groups, I think, in, and I said, if somebody else is in a room, you need to wait till they come out to go into that room, stay 6 feet apart. And yeah, it's, you cope. But the thing that I think has been so great about, um, us going through this weird time that we're all in is that we've learned to skill up. You know what I mean by that? By video, like exactly what we're doing here. It's like this
Yep.
wasn't in my skill set last week. So so now it is, and
Right.
so it's just the different skills, we're having to cope and adapt, and that's what
Yeah.
the human race does well. So
It definitely forced a lot of us into areas that might have seemed, not attainable or uncomfortable because like there aren't any other choices really. So I'm trying to imagine like you can't hold a 70-person open house for every single listing. There have to be like alternative ways for people to see that property. And I imagine some of those are digital, right?
right. So now I utilize 2 business owners in St. John's. Well, actually 3. So
Oh,
I have a house cleaner. And if you ever need an amazing house cleaner, it is Christine from the bookstore's roommate, Kristen. Not
yep.
to be Christine and Kristen live in the same house. Anyway,
Right.
she's amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. So I utilize her. So basically, when I get a listing, she comes in and cleans like nobody's business. And then Deanna Cantrell comes in and does the photography. And then the other person that I use is Pacific House Media, and he comes in
Oh,
and does
Dylan.
videos.
Yeah.
Dylan, yeah. And so, and no matter where I am in Portland, they're my crew that come in and get everything set up. And I just hired another person. Her name is Elise, and she's going to be doing some graphics for me and some social media stuff, and she's my granddaughter, and she
I was
knows
gonna
this
say, when
stuff
you
better.
said the name, I was like, is that a coincidence? Or I think
You
that's
know,
great though, and I love how you have always used like local resources. One of the neatest things that I remember you doing when you were putting your own house on the market is that instead of filming just like a, run of the mill, like, just regular house tour video, you
right,
used dancers from the Aspire Project, a wonderful nonprofit that isn't currently running anymore, but young dancers from our local, dance company to dance their way through your house. So incorporating, you were showing the community at the same time as showing your house, and I thought that was so unique. And that video, I watch it sometimes, even though, like, it's, there's no reason for me to watch it in terms of buying your house, but it's so
it's
fun to
like it's so
watch.
beautiful. It's like these lovely little budding ballerinas are just like prancing through this big, huge, amazing house, and it's yeah, it was super fun to do that. It was
And I
very
think
fun.
too, like, it also, whenever I work with people on social media, I say, whenever you're doing something publicly and it's for your company or your organization, try to show your values. And that really shows your values and like what if I were a buyer, would want to work with you. I'm like, what a cool person who values the community and showcases this great organization. It's not just about, like, again, the buying and the selling of house. It's about working with a person that you align with. And I think you
Right.
show that very well. Yeah.
So yeah, so one of my favorite clients, besides amazing houses and everything, is like I work a lot with seniors. Seniors are going, especially if they're downsizing or going into assisted care, and dealing with working with their families to try to figure out what to do, with all of their stuff,
Oh gosh.
and especially to the seniors themselves, it's their stuff, it's their life, and just
Sure.
working with them, and you know having the conversation on how to de-grandmaize your house is always a tough it's
I think we
always a
need to go to
tough
Chicago and look at my
conversation.
parents' house.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Liz?
Oh, I was gonna say we need to go to Chicago and look at my parents' house. Can we go do that? just start the process. They're a long ways
Right,
away.
right, right.
We
I,
gotta
I
start sometime.
remember not being able to, or I think I tried to tell this one woman one time that we needed de-grandma eyes, and the setup for the open house was the car would leave the driveway with her and her husband in it, and I would be taking down lace curtains, like the whole things off the windows, taking them down and putting them in a closet, taking all the angels off,
Yes.
the knickknacks off the bookcase, and minimizing everything that's in the house, just complete minimizing as much as I absolutely can. And
Right.
then right before they come back is like having to put all that back. It's yeah. So listen,
Well,
when
there's
you're real,
there's a certain generation too that I read an article about this where, the parent generation thinks, but I'm saving this wonderful stuff for my kids. And the kids are like, we don't want it. Not, our house is modern aesthetic. That old
right, right, right.
walnut dresser isn't going to fit in. I realize it has value to you. Don't want it. So then if the parents pass, then the kids are forced to like, be like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with all this stuff? And how do we do that?
Right, right. And so I have people that help them with that. So there's even, so it's, and Facebook is your friend, but you know, and the pandemic has happened, so nobody can go thrift store shopping. So a lot of them have gone curb shopping because,
Right.
I know when we were getting our house ready to sell, it's like, okay, what do we do with this stuff? And a lot of it was going to the curb, and it would be gone in 24 hours, no matter what it was. So,
Well, I remember being someone who came to your house when it wasn't quite at the curb yet and collecting some good stuff because you have good stuff,
oh, the
Risa.
garage give. Yes.
Yeah.
Garage give. That was super fun. Yeah.
Yep.
My son super appreciated everyone's effort that came and got something. So, one thing you noticed that
Right.
boys, especially when you're talking about people that don't want stuff, boys don't want anything.
No,
If
they
it
don't
doesn't,
want your cocktail set or your beautiful cake stand or, the things that I want.
right, right.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, what does your day to day look like? Because when I think of a realtor, like my mother in law was a realtor, she spent most of her day in her car. And she had one of those, this was like back in the 80s, she had one of those like old timey first cell phones that was like, is like a brick that she would have
Right,
plugged
right.
into her car. And she'd be on the phone in her car, which was really super modern at the time, and driving around. So what does your day to day look like now? Is it different?
So a lot of it is outreach,
Okay.
and talking to folk about what about the market, and
Mm-hmm.
getting ready and what my suggestions are, and educating people on different kinds of real estate. So it's a lot of it's phone.
Okay.
A lot of it is uh, phone and contacts and computer work, and just getting information out to people. And what's the best word to use for this? Trying to think of the coordination. So, like for a listing, which is mostly what I do these days, it's like it takes a lot of coordination to get, the people, so that they're ready for a cleaner to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And then stepping back and looking at it and going, okay, what does this house need? So like this place here, before we and you can kind of see it, it's
Oh yeah.
little. So I have had Deanna out twice, so the owners didn't necessarily want to paint, and then it it wasn't moving like it should. And because condo sales are a little bit slower right now than regular house sales. And so I brought in a stager, and the first thing she said is, we have to paint it. It can't be the color that it was. So just coordinating that. And the good thing is that a lot of people are like, I can't afford that. I can't do that. Well, the good thing is that I have contractors that will wait to get paid when the house sells.
Ah.
So they don't have the upfront costs that they normally would have.
Oh.
So repairs are a lot of repairs. We can work out a lot of repairs that way. And that is just part of my negotiation. It's me negotiating for you past the sale of the house, and just making sure that everything's lined up and ready to go, so that when the time comes, it's in, you have the lowest amount of out-of-pocket expense and the highest price.
I think that's one of the things that gives people pause too, is they're like, I can't afford a realtor. I can't afford staging. Maybe they're selling their house because, they've lost their job and they need to move. So they think they can't afford what may sound like a luxury thing, when in fact, it doesn't cost more, and it'll help you move through the process faster and better, right?
And most likely get more for the house hedge if you did not use a realtor. So that's one of the myths that's out there. It's like, oh, I can just do it myself and I'll save all that money. No, you're not going to necessarily save all that money. So,
well, the other thing that is, you've explained this to me probably 100 times. So here we go on 101 times. So realtors oftentimes are associated with either their own company or a realty company. But what you've explained to me is that realtors are sort of their own thing, but they have an association with the company. So can you explain that?
So again? I was with John L. Scott for 3 years when I first started out. And then for 13 years, I owned my own business. Okay. So I was by myself, working out of my house, doing a great job, and working with multiple clients, just like I would otherwise. So then I got my Washington license. So I'm licensed in both Oregon and Washington now. So I got my Washington license, and then to open up another agency inside of Washington was just too much of a hassle, and
Yeah.
the licensing and all that stuff. So other than just practicing real estate, so I started shopping around a little bit, and I found Dwell, which I really like. It's got a great group of people, and I was their managing broker for about a year and a half, and then I decided that's when I got busy, and I'm like, I don't have time to manage other brokers, so I asked them to find another person to do that. So I'm currently the managing principal broker in Washington, but I have asked them to take me off that as well. So so there is so many. I lost my train of thought. So
So you're still with Dwell. Like if you
right,
gave
I'm
me your
still
business
with
card,
Dwell,
it would
but
say
I am
Dwell.
my own person. So they handle a lot. So there are double check people. So they check everything that we do to make sure that giving us extra support and making sure that if something goes, because I always tell my clients this: something will go awry in a transaction. You just have to be with someone who's been through it all so that they know how to handle it. So, which is a lot of what, so, and I never call a client without having the solution to an issue before there's an issue, when an issue arises. So they're there for me to bounce information off of, which is super great. They carry our licensing. They handle all the back business side of things. I mean, I still have to do my own taxes and still have to do that. I don't get a paycheck. I don't get paid unless a transaction goes through. And there's not that many jobs in the world that are like that, where you do all this work up front and you do you get everything ready, and then if nothing happens, you don't get paid with sometimes months worth of work.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's
I don't
different.
know. Yeah, it's super different. So when somebody says to me, well, can you cut your commission? I mean, nobody ever does that because they know my value, but it's like, but if they come to you and say, hey, I'm going to shop you around or whatever, and it's like, no, my value is that I'm here for you. Nobody else is going to be like that. So, I mean, not like, who's some of those people out there right now? I don't know. But anyway, so
yeah, when you shop at Home Depot, they're not coming home with you to help you install the thing.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
I
love
Amazon.
that. That really helps me understand, because that's something that I know several different realtors, and they're often with different, they move different companies, but but they usually go by their own name only. Yeah. So that's always been a source of like, I don't know how to explain this, so I need to hear it straight from you. Well, I wanted you to give, speaking of contact, speaking of information, can you tell everybody what the best way is to get in contact with you? Maybe they're looking to move, or they're looking to buy, or they just have questions. How would they get in contact with you?
So there's two ways. My phone is always tied to my hip. So, that's how we communicate a lot with everyone.
Okay.
But if I don't pick up right away, that means that I am trying to give somebody else my undivided attention. Okay. So texting me is super great, and I'm going to give you that phone number right now if you want it. It's 50.
You can give the phone number now, or you can give like where they would find the phone number online. Like I think it's on your page on the boosters. I'm imagining.
Yeah. So under the boosters, I think it's still under Dwell. So
it is.
Yeah. So I did take up office space, just so you know, at why did I almost say the Insurgents building?
I don't know that building.
I don't either.
Where's that? At Inspire?
No, at Joe Perky's place.
Convergence.
Why did I say Insurgents?
I love it. Oh, that's so
At
cool. So you're in
Insurgents
that, I know
Architecture.
exactly where you are, over on Richmond.
Right, right. So I can arrange to meet people there. We have a couple of conference rooms there, but my favorite place to meet people at is in their own home. So
Okay.
that's what the discussions are all about. So you can find my information on the Boosters webpage,
Yep.
or you can contact me through Facebook or my email, which is risadavis9@gmail.com, which is super easy. So
Yeah, the email's probably easiest, and then you can, arrange whatever you need to arrange. So risadavis9@gmail.com.
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
And I wanted to give you a chance. You've already shouted out a bunch of businesses like Deanna Cantrell and Pacific Coast Media and Aspire Project and Kristen's Cleaning Service, but I wanted to give you a chance to, I know you're out and about in the neighborhood, or at least patronizing the businesses in whatever way you can, and you always have. So what are some of your favorites?
Oh my God. So of course, all the lady shops, which
The lady shops. I love it. Yes.
so Metamorphic and Salty Teacup, and of course I get all my shoes at Rome. So and then when I'm with my husband, it's 45th Parallel, and and we just had our scooter fixed at the scooter shop, and oh my gosh, it's like I just love everyone. I don't think there's anybody in St. John's that I haven't been in their house, in their shop, or bought something. I mean, it's like we've been here, we're tried and true, and we love St. John's. So,
So
and
great.
yeah, yeah.
I miss seeing you at John Street Cafe at our meetings every
I
Wednesday.
know. That's super sad. And I love, 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 love that family that own that. So if anybody doesn't know their history, their mother opened up Thai Cottage way back. So they were my neighbor
Right.
at the Central Hotel, and I love, 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 love them. And if anybody doesn't know this, Dang's son, she has two sons. The one that runs the John Street Cafe, but then there's the other one that helped start Eam over off of Williams, and it is amazing. If nobody else is, if you
I've
haven't
still
there
not
yet.
been there, and of course, now I'm kicking myself that I didn't go before the pandemic, but who knew? But I know they're doing takeout there, and then on occasion, I've seen John Street Cafe have like some of the specialties, like they did like the chicken and rice kind of thing, yeah. So
Oh my gosh. I
so
just
good,
love supporting their family. And the other family that has the roots in St. John's was the Mixteca family.
right?
You remember? So they're at the farmers market. Well, they shared our kitchen at the Central Hotel for over a year. And
Oh
so
wow,
I love that family. And so I helped them find a brick and mortar place out on 82nd. And they're doing great out there. As great as they can during a pandemic, being a food place. So, and yeah, so
yeah, that's
great.
so great. I remembered when you were working on that, and it's always such a neat success story to see a vendor at the farmers market move to the next step of being like in their own physical location. It's just like, wow, you've made it to this next level, and that's so cool. And your history also of all the businesses. If ever I want to know, like, how did this business get here and who is it, you are always the person that I want to ask, because you know.
Right, right, right.
And you're
I don't have,
interested.
yes, yes. And so there's it's going to be interesting to see what this next year brings to St. John. So I know that there's two locations coming in the new building that's going up in the center of St. John's, and one of
Oh,
them I'm hoping I'm getting somebody in there.
oh,
And
awesome.
so,
I don't even know
yeah,
this.
so, and they're expected to be up and running by June, July. So I think
Yeah.
that's going to be super quick. So if anybody wants that other space, contact me.
That's a real good in. I love that. And I love that it has the business element to it to
Right.
enliven that space. It's been a long time coming, and I can't wait until it's, just a permanent part of the neighborhood and usable and all that good stuff.
Right.
All right. Well, Risa,
Yay!
thank
Well, thank
you.
you for inviting me. This was super great. I really
It's
appreciate it.
Oh
And
yeah. It
yeah,
was so
so
great. And even though I know you and even though, we're friends, like there's so much that I learned just in this short conversation. So I appreciate you taking the time and talking about your business, and so glad you had a great year. I love hearing those stories. And then I know by you having a great year, you have helped a lot of people, from local businesses to people buying and selling. And I know that that's where you come from in your heart. So that's great to hear.
I had one more thing. So
Yeah.
last year I handed out, usually at our Christmas party every year with over 200 people at it, I usually hand out the thank you to my folk who have either referred me or given or bought or sold through me through the year.
Oh
And so
yeah.
this year I couldn't do that because we couldn't do our Christmas party, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to say I handed out 19 Pendleton wool blankets this year.
That
I know.
is amazing.
I know. It was super fun to have that. And one of those clients was 3 different houses. So,
And such a part of Oregon, such a part of our
right,
culture. Pendleton,
right,
heirloom stuff, something you'll treasure. That's a really great gift. That's
right,
exciting.
right. So I'm getting ready to send out the new stuff for this next year. And, I always start my year on the Lunar New Year just because, after the holidays, everybody needs to try to sit down and figure out what the hell they're going to do for their business this year. And so I always wait till Lunar New Year. So it's coming up on the 12th. So you watch your mailboxes, folks.
I am totally adopting the start. I'm never ready for the new year on January 1st. I'm recovering from the rest of the holidays and like it's too much.
Right,
So
right.
that
And
makes way
taxes.
more sense.
Yeah, Lunar New Year is so much better.
Well, we'll have to schedule a Lunar New Year Zoom where we celebrate the new year properly, on at least on Zoom.
Right, right. Okay, perfect. Hello,
All right,
thank you,
Risa, thank
everyone.
you.
Okay,
Bye,
talk to you
everybody.
later.
Thanks for joining.
Okay, bye.
Bye.